The year they announced the college entrance exams were back, my world shattered. Leo, the educated youth I had promised my heart to, had an accident on his way back to the city. The news was a cold, hard stone dropped into the pit of my stomach. He was dead. All he left behind was 10 yuan and 3 kilos of ration coupons. I cried until the world in my right eye blurred into a permanent gray haze. I gritted my teeth, and through the shame and the whispers I gave birth to his child. A boy with no father's name on the register. For 15 years I raised him alone. The struggle turned my hair the color of frost and carved lines of chronic pain into my body. The village never let me forget my transgression. I made a meager living selling fried dough sticks from a small stall. It was there, amidst the sizzle of oil, that I saw the ghost. Leo was alive. He wasn't a ghost of memory but a man of flesh and blood, returning to the countryside in glory. He had his wife Clara and their well-dressed, obedient son in tow. He was still strikingly handsome, his city clothes sharp and clean. He pointed towards my dilapidated house and I heard his voice, colder than the winter river, say to his wife, "That's where I was assigned for re-education. Those peasant girls, they're so desperate to get to the city they'll cling to any lifeline. If I hadn't told her I was dead, she'd still be clinging to my leg." The words didn't feel like words. They felt like a physical blow, rattling my bones and setting my blood on fire. A roaring filled my ears. My vision, already half blind, tunneled until all I could see was his smug, laughing face. My body moved on its own. My hand reached for the cast-iron pan of bubbling oil. I would scar that beautiful face, I would make him feel a fraction of my pain. But as my fingers brushed the hot handle, his eyes met mine. Recognition dawned, followed by sheer panic. He stumbled back, turning to flee on his bicycle, but he crashed into a cart coming the other way. The world erupted in a cacophony of screams and splintering wood. When I opened my eyes again, the scent of hot oil was gone, replaced by the damp, earthy smell of our village home. The weight of 15 years of hardship had vanished. My hands, calloused and rough, were smooth again. I was 18. My mother, her face unlined by worry, bustled into the room. "Lily, are you just lazing about? The news is here. The exams are back." She was vibrant, healthy, alive. The cruel gossip that would later wear her down had not yet begun. I was back. Back to the moment before my ruin. I learned that Leo was in the village, visiting home. He had just been rejected by a city girl he fancied and was sulking. In my first life, he had sought me out for comfort, and I, flattered by the attention of this sophisticated city boy, had fallen for his melancholy charm. But not this time. This time, everything could be changed. Before returning to the city, Leo always lodged at our house. He was notoriously bad at fighting for his share of the food among the other educated youths, and his handsome face was often pale and pinched with hunger. I remembered that New Year my uncle and I had slaughtered a pig for its bristles and traded them for half a jar of precious lard. For 3 years in my past life, I had hidden that lard in his rice, spoonful by spoonful, watching his health return, mistaking my pity for love. Now, when my father called me to bring an umbrella to Leo at the educated youth station, I refused. At dinner, I added an extra spoonful of lard to my parents' bowls and my own. I left nothing for him. That night, a thunderstorm raged, mirroring the turmoil in my heart. In my first life, this was the night he had come to me, tears in his eyes, claiming his family had abandoned him. He had kissed me, clumsily, desperately, and I had softened, letting him lead me into the storeroom, letting him take what he wanted against the rough wood of the window frame. I had even whispered comforting lies. "It's okay. We can take the college exams together." Now I knew the truth. He had just had a bitter fight with his city girlfriend and was using me to vent his frustration. The very next day they would make up. He would regret it, yet he would come back to me again and again, each time promising, "After the exams I'll come back and marry you." A knock came at my door. It was him. "Lily, are you asleep?" His voice came soft and tentative from the other side. "If you think I'm asleep, why are you knocking? Are you an idiot?" I snapped, my voice sharp as a whip. Silence. I had barricaded the door with a wooden pole. The only sound was the relentless drumming of the rain. That night, for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, I slept a deep and dreamless sleep. The next morning I woke feeling lighter than I had in years. I stepped into the kitchen to find Leo had risen early and had even ladled a bowl of rice for me. "Good morning, Lily," he said, his voice carefully neutral. I ignored him, scooped a fresh bowl for myself, and after eating went straight to find my uncle, the team leader for the educated youths. "Uncle, if the youths are staying in villagers' homes, they have to rotate," I stated, my voice firm. "Leo has been at our house for too long. Switch him out." My uncle looked at me, his surprise evident. "Didn't you beg me before not to change him out?" "Rules are rules," I said, my tone leaving no room for argument. "Change it. Change it today." As I turned to leave, I glanced back at him, the man who would one day die of lung cancer, his body racked by coughs. "Uncle," I added softly, "smoking too much will bring bad luck." He chuckled, tucking his tobacco pouch away. "You little rascal." Then he asked, "So who should I switch him with?" "Maya," I replied without hesitation. Maya was a female educated youth, a quiet, skittish girl whose family had no room for her in the city. Her spirit was already fraying at the edges. In my past life she had never left. But she had also been the one who, when I was in labor and shunned by everyone, ran miles through the night to find a doctor. She was a soul worth saving. That evening, when Leo returned from teaching the literacy class, he saw me coldly gathering his bedding and clothes and throwing them out the door. Too proud to beg, he simply picked them up and left without a word. But he couldn't let it go. The next day, while out working, he deliberately circled back to find me, his eyes searching my face. "Don't believe those stupid rumors, Lily," he pleaded. "Sarah from the next village only gave me a pair of gloves and I didn't even take them. And when Mrs. Chun gave me steamed buns, I shared them with you. Or is this about Maya? She's the only girl I've spoken a few words to, but how could she possibly compare to you?" My heart was a stone in my chest. "There is nothing between us," I answered coldly. "Don't bother me anymore." He didn't believe me. He grabbed my arm, pulling me back. We lost our balance and tumbled into a drainage ditch, soaking ourselves from head to toe in the muddy water. "Don't be mad anymore," he said, his voice a low murmur. "Is this because I kissed you that day? I won't do that again. We can take it slow." But his body betrayed his words. I could feel the hard press of his desire against me. A wave of nausea, visceral and powerful, washed over me. I shoved him away with all my strength. This time he truly grew angry. "If you want a title, if you want things to be official, I can agree to that," he said, standing tall, waiting for me to throw myself into his arms as I always had before. Villagers on their way to work had heard the commotion and crowded around. Someone started teasing. Well, what's going on between you two?" Leo smirked and raised his brows at me as if bestowing a great favor. After all, what was a barely literate rural girl catching the eye of a city youth? I patted the muddy water from my clothes and said icily, "What kind of relationship? A creditor and a debtor? He owes my family 18 yuan and I came to collect." The crowd's laughter died. Understanding nods replaced smirks. So she was just demanding money. Leo's face went pale. He lowered his head and muttered through gritted teeth, "Lily, keep pretending all you want. But in the end you'll miss your chance to change your fate." My chance to change my fate, I thought, watching his retreating back, is in May at the college entrance exam. What does it have to do with you? When I got home, my parents were confused. "Isn't Leo really good to you? What's going on?" my father asked, his brow furrowed. "Yes, he had once been good to me." The memory surfaced, unbidden. Last year, while harvesting wheat, I had cut my leg badly with a sickle. There was no medicine. Leo, believing in folk remedies, had run everywhere looking for cobwebs to cover the wound, nearly getting bitten by a snake in the process. Back then, his distress had seemed so genuine, so deep. I had mistaken his momentary kindness for a lifetime of character. Now that we had quarreled, half the village treated me like a joke. Word spread that I hadn't slept for nights, that I'd gone mad because Leo had dumped me. When I tried to borrow textbooks from the other educated youths, Leo used his influence. He threatened that anyone who helped me was opposing him. He even scolded me publicly, saying I was wasting national resources out of spite. Everyone laughed. A country girl dreaming of college? What nonsense. My mother urged me to make peace with him. "Don't talk about just our village. There's probably not a single person in the whole county who will pass the college exam," she sighed. Even the village school teacher told me, "Lily, it's not that I don't want to lend you books, but this exam isn't something you can pass by studying a few days. Chinese, math, even English, they're all tough." My parents' resigned words echoed in the small house. "Just accept your fate, Lily. We were born as farmers. We'll never escape the mud. Only Maya quietly lowered her head. In the dark of night, without a word, she pressed 2 battered textbooks into my hands. Her own hands were thin and slightly deformed from years of rough work. You're not going back to the city? You're not taking the exam either? I asked her. My family only has 1 room, she whispered, her voice barely audible. After my brother got married, 5 people were crammed inside. My mother told me not to come back, just to send a little money every month. I reached out and grasped her hands. In my past life, Maya had never returned to the city. The station had promised to arrange work for her in the county, but less than 2 months later she came back covered in injuries, her spirit completely broken. She ended up marrying a crippled man in the village who beat her every day. They say I'm crazy for wanting to take the college exam, I said to her, holding her gaze. What do you think? Maya's eyes flickered with a trace of bitter laughter. I smiled. Then do you want to try with me? We began studying together. By day we worked. By night, we hunched over the smoky oil lamp, our eyes turning red from strain and smoke. The educated youths mocked us openly. Look at her, a farmer girl dreaming of college. Shouldn't she be out working in the fields instead? The villagers laughed along, placing bets. Let's see if she can even score 10 points in one subject. One man brotherly jeered. A young man named Ben, who had a slight stutter, tried to defend me. Lily is really good at studying. Oh, then raise the bet to 20 points. Another, Uncle Gio, chimed in. If she even scores 1 single point, my family will cover your vegetables for a year. If she scores more than 1 point, we'll cover your rice too. They all burst into laughter. I just smiled as well. Fine. Write it all down. Thank you, everyone. They didn't know. They didn't know that in my past life, because of Leo's fake death, I had pored over the exam papers of that year until I had memorized every question, every comma, and every period. Without my family's support, Maya and I relied on each other. At my house, there was always enough food, and Maya gradually gained some weight, her features softening, hints of her quiet beauty emerging. My older brother began to notice. He started washing his face, combing his hair, and often setting aside food for her. One night while we were studying, he brought a plate of ripe, golden forest jujubes freshly washed. Maya's cheeks flushed slightly. I quickly grabbed her hand and closed the door. Maya, these jujubes grow all over the hills, I said gently. My brother has been alive 25 years and never once picked one for our parents, but this year he picked them for you. Do you understand what he means? I paused, letting my words sink in. But don't let yourself be moved by this. Whatever he can do, I can do too. Even the village kids could pick you a basket full for just a few coins. We have to study hard. Someday you'll see. Beyond these hills there are other jujubes, bigger and sweeter. Maya froze for a moment. I've never had anyone. He stammered. Then she withdrew her hand and didn't take the fruit. We turned back to our books, the unspoken promise of a different future burning brighter than the lamplight. In the midst of our preparations, Leo sent another educated youth to find me. The message was twofold. First, to repay 8 of the 18 yuan he owed. Second, to offer me a way out. He said a neighbor of his in the city needed a servant, food and lodging but no wages. In his free time he would tutor me. I drove the messenger out. Who does he think he is, deciding my life for me? Get out. Disgusting. Leo, who had been hiding outside, was exposed. He turned red with shame, which quickly curdled into anger. He pressed his hand against my door and sneered. What are you pretending for? I know your education level. We've already kissed, haven't we? And you act like some pure intellectual. My mother's face went pale. Leo, don't speak nonsense. Nonsense, he hissed, lowering his voice. When I kissed her, she closed her eyes. Seemed plenty familiar to me. He leaned closer, his voice a venomous whisper meant only for me. You know how important a village girl's reputation is. Do I need to explain? Come with me now. It's still not too late. So he did know how important reputation was. Yet in my past life he had still left me pregnant and abandoned, faking his death to escape. His cruelty wasn't a later development. It was rooted deep inside him. The higher a man like that climbed, the more dangerous he became. The look in his eyes was full of unwillingness and possessiveness, completely different from the cold indifference he had shown in my past life. I remembered him telling me to go back to my mother after he had taken my innocence. I grabbed an enamel cup and hurled it straight at his head. It split his scalp, drawing a thin line of blood. He clutched his head, stunned, while Maya let our dog loose. Leo panicked and bolted, spitting venomous words as he ran. Just you wait. You'll all die together in misery. To take the college exam, we had to travel to another province and we didn't have enough money. Maya and I had no choice but to set out on foot early one morning. At the entrance to the village, my mother pressed a talisman into my hand. Whether you pass or not, you must keep yourself safe, she said, her eyes glistening. Yes, Mom, I replied, hugging both my parents. They felt awkward and stiff in my embrace, but I could feel their reluctant love. When Maya and I reached the exam site, we unexpectedly ran into Leo. In his hands was the pair of gloves I had knitted for him the year before. Back then he had mocked them as ugly. I thought he had thrown them away long ago. He looked at me with a mix of pity and contempt. A girl as strong-willed as you will never come to a good end. Spending money and effort like this, aren't you just doing it to spite me? At that moment a female voice cut in. Clara. Freckles dotted her face as she lifted her chin. Leo, who is this girl? Isn't she the one you said you'd introduce to my family as a servant? She does look shabby enough. Or better yet, send her to the neighbors. They have a crippled son. A perfect match. Before I could react, Maya snapped. Then you're the one who'd match him. One crippled body and one crippled brain. Truly a pair made in heaven. The atmosphere grew tense. Leo quickly tried to smooth things over. All right, Clara, don't get worked up. These two are just rural girls trying to provoke you to ruin your focus before the exam. So, anger can affect exam performance, huh? I asked evenly. Clara sneered. Leo, you can't even handle linear algebra. Have you figured out the difference between final velocity and acceleration yet? And you dare step into the exam room? She turned to me, tilting her head. And you? You're just a farm girl. You think you can actually pass? And if I do? Asked, my voice calm. Clara let out a derisive laugh. If you pass, I'll fry fish for you with my bare hands. I sneered back. Don't make me sick. If I pass, then make him run naked around the university. Clara's expression chilled. Fine. But if you fail, you and Maya both have to run naked. Do you dare? Maya stepped forward. If she fails, I'll run. But if she passes, then you'll run. How about that? Clara agreed without hesitation. Whoever doesn't follow through will have bad luck their whole life. I gave a faint smile. Leo, seeing it, froze for a moment. Lily, he said softly, why do you have to torment yourself like this? The exam went exactly as expected. The questions were like old friends to me. We only had to wait a month for the results. The wait was agonizing. When the results were finally announced on the radio, the courtyard where we gathered fell silent. Maya's hands shook violently, her face pale as paper. I kept my head down, focusing on my sewing. The villagers muttered, unsurprised. Didn't we say she wouldn't pass? Even the village school teacher took the test, said the questions were impossibly hard, and he only got a little over 80 points. What a waste of time. One by one they drifted away. Maya gripped my hand tightly, struggling to hold back her emotions. Why is it that even family can't be trusted? She whispered. Good things have to be hidden, Lily. They have to be endured. Do you hear me? Another month passed. Admission notices were delivered and announced one after another. Every day the radio reported new lists of successful candidates. Meanwhile, I was busy gathering old wood for the stove. I was packing a small bag with Maya when the yard suddenly grew lively. It turned out Leo had returned, his face smug even before he entered. The news of his score spread ahead of him. 200 points. I paused. That was 30 points lower than what he had scored in my past life. Villagers crowded around him, showering him with praise. He slipped into the storage shed where I was, saying he wanted to give me one last chance. Lily, I've already made things clear with Clara. After all, you've taken care of me for so long. If you can't survive here anymore, you can come with me to Beijing. A relative's family can take you in as a servant. They'll feed and house you. Better than wasting your life here. Your reputation is already ruined. Your studies incomplete. What future do you have staying in the village? As he spoke, his hand pressed down on my shoulder. I turned my head and instinctively his eyes fell on my lips. All these years I really have had feelings for you, he whispered, his voice thick. Every night I dream of you. I don't know why, but always in this shed. Feels so real. Lily, I miss you so much. I can't sleep. I've always thought we were meant to be. You're mine. His eyes shone with unhidden desire as he leaned closer. Just then a loud shout came from outside. Good news. Good news. You passed. You passed. The one shouting was Sam, the crippled man who, in my past life, had tormented Maya. He shoved Leo aside. It's the admission letters for Lily and Maya. The mailman is almost here and even the township officials are coming. Leo's face twisted in disbelief. How could it be them? Both of them passed? You might as well tell me the village school teacher passed too. Then his expression changed. I see. You all staged this together to trick me, didn't you? You're smitten with Maya, so you helped her deceive me. Sam grew frantic. It's true. I called myself. If you don't believe it, come and see. Leo still refused to believe, but just then the people who had come to escort us arrived. Clutching the door frame, he looked at me with mock pity. Lily, this is your last chance. Claire is kind-hearted. All you need to do is sincerely apologize. But his words were drowned out by the beat of drums and gongs outside. The welcoming procession had really come. Maya, who had just finished washing clothes, walked at the front. Someone else carried the basin from her hands. When she saw me, she pressed her lips together, tears spilling over even as her smile held. I smiled back. The villagers swarmed in. 2 neighbors rushed off to fetch my parents and brother. Why are you still watering the ground, Lily? You passed. The girl passed. Beijing University. My parents were pushed out into the yard, their faces dazed, staring at everything as if in a dream. They turned to me in disbelief. I stretched out both hands and took the admission notice from the postman. The crowd fell utterly silent. I turned to look at a few familiar faces. Brother Lee, I said, my voice clear and carrying, you told me once that at most I could get 20 points, and if I scored even one more, you'd cover my family's vegetables for a whole year. Do you remember? I turned to another man. And you, Uncle Gio, you said if I got more than a point you'd cover the rice too. Remember that? They no longer laughed at me, only forced awkward chuckles to cover their shame. Lily, we're all elders in the family, they said. We just wanted to encourage you. We always knew you were gifted from the time you were little. Leo stood frozen like he'd been struck by lightning. Impossible. Impossible. I only got a little over 200. How could she get over 300? Did they add together the scores from all 8 subjects? He reached out to snatch the admission letter from my hands, but several villagers immediately held him back. Toei. There must be some mistake, he shouted. I smiled lightly. 200 points and you still dream of Beijing University? That's truly impossible. Maybe try a lower-ranked school in Hubei instead. Leo's face turned purple with rage. Even if I die, I won't apply to Hubei. But in my past life, that was exactly what he had done, using a special quota to barely climb ashore. He was about to storm off in anger, but I stopped him. Wait. He halted reluctantly, glaring at me. What now, Lily? Don't think that just because you got into college you're suddenly good enough for me. My household is city registered. Remember. I only want to ask, I said evenly, when will you return the 10 yuan you borrowed? Planning to run away without paying me back. Leo flushed bright red, fumbling all over himself but unable to find any money. How can you be so petty? Just 10 yuan. Do you really need it that badly? I looked at him coldly. 10 yuan is my work points for an entire month. That can buy 40 kilos of rice, 200 kilos of cabbage, or pay a year's tuition for middle school. Back then you said your family member was sick. I gave you all the savings I had scraped together over years, told you not to rush in paying me back. I paused, letting the truth hang in the air. Only later did I learn you used it to buy gifts for your girlfriend. As he stood there, ashamed and furious, Clara's sharp voice cut through the crowd. She had the same arrogance she'd shown in my past life, a silk scarf tied under her chin. Leo, honestly, we're city people. Why lower yourself to argue over pennies with these villagers? She said, her freckles standing out clearly. Just a few measly coins. Didn't I tell you if I pass my exam, my mother will reward me at New Year? Her eyes lit up as she heard the drums outside. So lively. Are they celebrating because you passed? You must have done really well. Let me guess. Is it Beijing University? She turned back to Leo, confused. Why is your face so pale? I burst into laughter, unable to hold it back. Clara scowled. What are you laughing at? Whether Leo passes or not, it has nothing to do with you. I raised my voice deliberately. Brother, go catch a soft-shell turtle from the pond out back for me. Clara said if I passed she'd fry fish for me with her bare hands. Clara's face collapsed instantly. You passed? That's impossible. Maya smiled at her. And I passed too. We had an agreement, remember? How are you two planning to back out? The crowd erupted in chaos. Didn't they say those two would have to run naked? Someone shouted. Sam fought his way to the front row. Are they running now? Can we run alongside to cheer them on? Clara spun around in panic and fled. She tripped and fell hard into the dirt, covering her face as she burst into sobs. I called out loudly, "Don't forget you said, whoever breaks their promise will have bad luck their whole life." And so, Maya and I went off to Beijing to study. University required no tuition fees. After graduation, jobs were assigned. My score was high, but my practical foundation was weak, so I chose to major in foreign languages. Following my advice, Maya chose radio electronics, a field that was soon merged into computer science and technology. College life was nothing like what I had lived before. I cut off all unnecessary socializing and devoted every bit of my time to studying. Standing on the shoulders of my tragic past, I dared not waste a single second. I never expected that one afternoon during self-study, I would run into Leo again. By then he had been assigned to a printing and dyeing factory, taking over his father's position. He was dressed neatly, claiming he had looked for me for days and wanted to speak properly. I admit I was immature before, he said. I've been working this year and saved some money. I want to treat you to a meal. Lily, I'm still preparing for the exam. Next year I'll be able to get into Beijing University too. His voice lowered. As for Clara, I've only ever treated her like a younger sister. Don't misunderstand. He held a mesh bag containing the little gifts I had once given him. See, I've kept them all. It was all forced by our families. You and I lived together in the countryside for years. Lily, don't you know what kind of person I am? My brows twitched. Instead of answering, I called out to the class monitor who happened to be passing by. I slipped my arm lightly through his. Leo, I forgot to introduce you, I said. This is my boyfriend. It was as if lightning had struck him. Boyfriend? You have a boyfriend? You're studying all day long. Where would you find the time? Or have you been sneaking around with him this whole time? His fists clenched. You're deliberately trying to anger me, aren't you? Throwing away your honor just to spite me. A girl who's been with one man and then turns around to follow another. Never. I'll never let go. Students began to gather. I yanked my arm free. Have some self-respect, Leo. Your fiancé is right here and yet you're still clinging to me like a scoundrel. He froze, stunned. And in that moment, Clara rushed over, crying just as security guards arrived. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Shameless. Already engaged and still pestering another girl. It's his fault, not hers. Honestly, her boyfriend is much better. Such a good-looking couple. Leo's face went pale as chalk. Furious, he glared at Clara. Why are you here? The two of them immediately began quarreling loudly in front of everyone. The class monitor leaned close. The teacher asked us to move some books. Of course there were no books. Once we had walked away, he asked, "Don't worry, it's over. Do you want me to speak to security again? That guy won't give up until he sees you truly love someone else." His cheeks were tinged red. I slipped my arm free. Thank you, class monitor. I'll go report to the advisor myself. With the support of the teachers, Leo's rumors were smothered. He tried to sneak onto campus disguised as a flower worker, once even as a vegetable delivery man, but the guards always stopped him. After that, I didn't see him for a long time. When the new freshmen arrived the following year, Leo's name wasn't among them. Maya told me she had accidentally run into him outside campus. He told her that I was nothing special and that he was sure he would find a girl hundreds, thousands of times prettier than me. He was obsessed with appearances and had already broken things off with Clara. I remembered my past life when he had brought her back to the village as the perfect couple. By then, the freckles on her face had faded, and everything about her revealed her family's support. But in this life he had taken a completely different path. When I graduated, I didn't choose to be a reporter or study abroad. Instead, I decided to go to Shenzhen, the burgeoning economic zone. It was a risk, a path into the unknown. When Leo heard, he used the excuse of a temple fair to linger in the village for days, waiting to meet me. A farmer will always be a farmer, he said, a beautiful but vacant-looking girl laughing on the back seat of his new Phoenix bicycle. I recognized her from the next village. She was known for her stunning looks but simple mind. No matter how pretty you are, you'll never be worthy of standing on the stage. At first, I thought you'd become some famous journalist. Who knew you'd go to a godforsaken place no one cares about? He looked me over carefully. You are beautiful, he said, but hardly the most beautiful under heaven. I walked past him without a glance. He dropped his bike and ran after me. Lily, how long are you going to stay angry? Dino? As soon as I arrived at your house, everyone panicked. They said if they'd known you'd choose such a desolate place, it would have been better if you never went to college at all. His voice softened. For 4 years I haven't married anyone. I've always been waiting for you. Every night I dream of you. Of us lying side by side. We really did have feelings, didn't you? I don't believe you feel nothing for me. I flung his hand away. I thought I had made myself clear enough already. He shook his head. I investigated. That class monitor of yours isn't really your boyfriend. I gave a cold smile. Just because he wasn't before doesn't mean he can't be in the future. Suddenly he grabbed my hand. Lily, what will it take for you to forgive me? Do you want me to kneel? I pried his fingers off one by one, my voice icy. We never even began, so what is there to forgive or let go of? His voice grew frantic. If it's because of her, I'll send her away right now. I only brought her here for you to see. I curved my lips in a smile, utterly uninterested. Then let me wish you two a long and happy life together with many sons to come. He howled, losing all control. Lily, you'll pay for this stubborn pride. You'll regret it. I've already prepared a home in Hadian district with savings, a Beijing household registration, a job that can be transferred. I only answered with a faint, humph, then strode away. In my second year in Shenzhen, Leo got married. They said it was because that simple, naive girl he was with had gotten pregnant, so he was forced into it. The next time news of him reached me was 7 years later. By then I had opened my own factory, my business running steadily. Profits and revenue grew as I expanded production. I chose to return to my hometown to help build a road. That day felt just like the day I first received the college admission letter. The first one to show up at my house was still Sam. By then, Maya had already earned her master's degree and become a university lecturer, leading her students in research on network systems. She stood waiting for me in the courtyard. The man who had tormented her so cruelly in my past life now didn't even dare look her in the eye. My heart softened and I pulled her into a hug before handing out small gifts to the children. My brother had grown old and so had my parents. They stood stunned, staring at the little car I had driven home. Wow, Auntie, is this yours? One of my nieces asked innocently. Study hard, I told her. And when you grow up, I'll teach you to drive. Just then, a loud voice carried from outside. It was Leo's mother-in-law, complaining about why the road wasn't planned to pass by her house. After asking carefully, I learned it was the first asphalt road connecting the town to the villages. Perhaps because everyone knew of my past conflict with Leo, the route had intentionally avoided his in-laws' land. Her family came to make trouble and even dragged Leo along, forcing him to bow his head and apologize to me. His face flushed red with humiliation. Furious, he turned and stormed off, slamming the door behind him. Only then did his mother-in-law bring her son directly to my house. After hearing the full story, I spoke politely with the village chief and added that stretch of road back into the plan. I was building the road because in 1993, in my first life, my parents had died in a car accident on this very path. In this second life, I only wished to prevent all tragedies from happening again. Seeing my agreement, the woman grew so emotional she pulled her son forward. Kneel. Quick, kneel down and thank her. Villagers hurried to help them up. As I drove away, glancing into the rearview mirror, I saw a lone figure step slowly out from behind the bushes. It was Leo. Though barely more than 10 years had passed, he already looked much older, streaks of white in his hair. He stood motionless for a long time before suddenly bending down to snatch up a rock and hurling it to the ground in rage, unwilling and nearly driven mad. Maya and I went back to our old school to visit our teachers. Returning to that familiar place, she gently took my hand. Back then I used to like your brother, she admitted softly. If it had been anyone else, they would have found some way to make me stay. Thank you, Lily. I smiled. If you had stayed, who would have helped me build the foundation for international e-commerce? We walked along the winding back streets, through narrow alleys and past moss-covered brick walls. There I suddenly noticed a for sale notice posted on a gate. Tearing it down for a closer look, I realized it was Leo's house. Standing at the gate, I lingered a moment and overheard enough to understand. He had married a woman who was mentally unstable. Every 3 days there was a quarrel. The woman was stunningly beautiful, but her temper was terrifying. She hoarded everything for herself, and if her mother-in-law tried to take anything, she would pin her down and beat her. Unable to endure it, the mother-in-law had forced them to live separately. When he returned, resentful and frustrated, he decided to sell the house, saying he wanted to start his own factory to strike out on his own. He lamented that his talents had been buried. An auntie nearby only shook her head. That Leo always chasing one thing while eyeing another. He gained nothing and even lost money. And now he had a beautiful wife, but they did nothing but fight every day. I walked away without looking back, my heels striking firmly against the ground, each step cutting him further out of my life. For years, I had carried the weight of the past, but seeing him so diminished, so tangled in the very choices he once flaunted, I felt only a quiet release. His story no longer belonged to me. My story was elsewhere. On the roads I built that carried children to school safely. In the classrooms where Maya guided her students. In the factories that gave villagers work and dignity. I had taken the path he once scorned, the one no one believed in, and found that it led not to despair, but to a broader horizon. As the sun dipped low, I realized this was the ending I had always wanted. Not a love redeemed, but a life reclaimed. Leo had become a shadow of what could have been, while I had become the author of what was. And in that truth I finally found peace. The end.